There is a massive difference between a clever life hack and a one-way ticket to the emergency room. Yet millions of Americans still treat terrible advice like gospel. We are tearing apart the most absurd, dangerous, and downright stupid tips you've probably tried at least once. Prepare to feel slightly embarrassed. 1. Politeness has absolutely no place on a highway on-ramp. Whoever told you to slow down and wait for a safe opening to politely excuse yourself into traffic was actively trying to get you killed. Highways are high-speed concrete battlefields, not a neighborhood mixer. When you tap those brakes, you instantly transform your family sedan into a stationary target for a heavily caffeinated trucker barreling down the right lane. You're not being courteous to your fellow drivers. You're literally auditioning to become a permanent hood ornament on a Peterbilt. 2. The old spare key under the doormat trick. Or better yet, hiding it inside one of those hollow, incredibly fake-looking plastic rocks. Who exactly are we trying to outsmart here? This isn't a top-tier security strategy. It's a universal VIP pass for any burglar with more than 2 functioning brain cells. You might as well roll out a red carpet and leave a handwritten invitation on the porch. Instead of being clever, you're just offering a highly convenient entry ticket for someone to walk right in and steal your television. 3. We've all seen that poor soul at the public pool hopping violently on one leg while tilting their head to get water out of their ear. Have you ever actually watched someone do this? It accomplishes absolutely nothing except making you look like a heavily malfunctioning flamingo having a localized meltdown. That stubborn puddle inside your ear canal isn't going anywhere. It completely defies gravity, actively mocking your bouncy, pathetic efforts while thoroughly enjoying the free amusement park ride inside your skull. 4. Spilled a massive glass of dark Merlot all over your expensive beige carpet? Suburban legends swear you must instantly pour white wine directly onto the stain to neutralize it. This is pure textile madness. You aren't performing magical laundry chemistry. You're just expanding the disaster zone by 50%. Your living room won't be suddenly clean, but it will definitely smell exactly like the sticky floor of a cheap roadside tavern. Now, instead of one simple stain to scrub, you have a massive fermented swamp to deal with. 5. If you truly love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours forever. That's a deeply moving sentiment if you're writing terrible poetry at a coffee shop, but it is an absolute catastrophe as a property ownership strategy. I dare you to apply this romantic logic to your brand new smartphone, your leather wallet, or your parked SUV. You will very quickly discover that the universe cares zero about your destiny, and you'll just end up filing a spectacularly embarrassing police report. 6. Countless fitness magazines have promised that the ultimate secret to dropping a few quick pounds is to simply skip breakfast altogether. Yes, because starving yourself at the crack of dawn is a truly brilliant life choice. In reality, this highly questionable tactic only succeeds in transforming you into a famished, rage-fueled office monster by 11 in the morning. Your blood sugar plummets so hard that you lose all concept of portion control, blindly consuming everything inside the break room vending machine, including the wrappers. 7. So you just housed an entire plate of garlic bread and your breath could peel the paint off a battleship. The classic old wives' tale says you should chew on a sprig of fresh parsley to fix it. Let's get real for a second. This doesn't magically erase the garlic. It just makes your mouth smell like a bizarre, confusing salad. It's the dental equivalent of putting a tiny, festive green hat on a terrifying swamp monster. The monster is still there. It just looks ready for a holiday party. 8. Every armchair financial guru will confidently tell you to make an aggressively lowball offer on a house to establish dominance. Seriously, don't do this. Slapping down a ridiculously cheap bid doesn't make you look like a Wall Street shark. It makes you look like a delusional time traveler who just arrived from an era where a 4-bedroom house cost $3,000 and a firm handshake. The frustrated seller isn't intimidated. They just view you as free comic relief before selling the property to a functioning adult. 9. If you ever find yourself hopelessly lost in the deep woods, survival myths claim you can navigate by looking at tree trunks because moss exclusively grows on the north side, except of course for all the times it happily grows on the south, east, and west sides. Moss loves moisture, not magnetic fields. Relying on this botanical nonsense doesn't actually help you find your way back to civilization. It just ensures that you get confidently lost, marching in determined little circles until you become a grim cautionary tale for squirrels. 10. We all know someone whose grand strategy for preparing dinner involves tossing a rock-hard frozen chicken onto the kitchen counter and leaving it there for 9 solid hours. This reckless method creates the ultimate luxury resort for dangerous bacteria. While the center remains a frozen, impenetrable brick, the thawed outside layers become a warm, thriving paradise for microscopic pathogens. You aren't casually defrosting a meal for your family. You are actively cultivating a highly volatile science fair project that usually ends with everyone fighting over the only bathroom. 11. For decades, we've been beaten over the head with the golden rule that you must forcefully chug 8 giant glasses of water every single day. Surprisingly, this highly specific number has zero solid scientific backing. Yet, it somehow launched a billion-dollar industry of expensive, motivational water bottles that passively-aggressively guilt-trip you every hour. People seem to forget that you absorb a massive amount of hydration from the food you eat. You are a human being, not a struggling houseplant. Just drink water when you actually feel thirsty. 12. The internet is completely obsessed with a viral life hack claiming you can make a perfect grilled cheese simply by turning your standard pop-up toaster sideways. This is less of a clever kitchen trick and more of a rapid-fire recipe for spontaneous combustion. The transition from thinking you are a culinary genius to screaming in absolute panic is breathtakingly fast. Dripping butter directly onto glowing heating coils doesn't result in a gourmet sandwich. It just fills your house with the suffocating smell of incinerated cheddar and shattered dreams. 13. Running late for work with a wrinkled shirt? A wildly popular internet tip suggests clamping your collar with a blazing hot ceramic hair straightener to brutally save time. In theory, it sounds like a brilliant modern shortcut for busy professionals. In reality, it instantly melts the synthetic fibers of your favorite button-down. You will confidently stride into your morning meeting featuring a crisp, perfectly flat collar adorned with a massive, permanent brown scorch mark, silently broadcasting to your boss that your adult life is hanging by a thread. 14. When a terrifying grease fire suddenly erupts in your frying pan, the absolute worst panic-induced reaction is to grab a massive cup of tap water and chuck it straight into the flames. You might think you're acting like a heroic firefighter, but you are actually doing the exact opposite. Because water and boiling oil violently repel each other, this instantly triggers a spectacular, ceiling-high fireball of vaporized grease. You haven't solved a minor cooking mistake. You've successfully taught fire how to fly inside your kitchen. 15. Generations of polite society have been brainwashed by the phrase that good things come to those who patiently wait. What utter nonsense. This is not ancient, profound wisdom. It is simply the official coping mechanism for people who genuinely enjoy watching amazing opportunities fly right past their faces. Sitting around waiting for success to magically knock on your front door is a phenomenal strategy if your ultimate life goal is to gratefully accept whatever mediocre scraps are left over after the proactive people took what they wanted. 16. For some baffling reason, countless home cooks firmly believe that you must thoroughly rinse raw chicken under the kitchen faucet before cooking it. Let me stop you right there. Blasting poultry with tap water does not violently wash away the germs. It essentially acts as a high-powered aerosol misting system, cheerfully launching microscopic droplets of raw salmonella juice across your clean countertops and dishes. Every meal you prepare in that contaminated disaster zone afterward becomes a thrilling, high-stakes game of gastrointestinal Russian roulette. Just cook the bird. 17. The next time you need to dice a massive pile of pungent onions, someone will undoubtedly advise you to hold a thick slice of bread in your mouth to absorb the invisible tear-inducing gases. I cannot stress this enough. This weird bakery trick does absolutely nothing to protect your eyes. It does, however, firmly guarantee that you look like a complete and utter lunatic. Imagine your spouse walking into the kitchen to find you openly weeping with a limp piece of soggy white bread hanging out of your mouth. 18. We have all seen that guy in the massive mall parking lot holding his car key fob directly against his chin, desperate to find his vehicle. The urban legend claims that the water inside your skull magically acts as an organic antenna to boost the electronic signal. Whether the weird physics behind this actually work is highly debatable. But all this technique truly accomplishes is making you look like a heavily strained psychic attempting to telepathically summon a dented Honda Civic, while giving yourself a very weird, localized headache. 19. When your car gets hopelessly bogged down in a deep winter snowdrift, the most common knee-jerk reaction is to violently slam your foot on the gas pedal. This chaotic maneuver, often referred to as the idiot pirouette, provides exactly zero forward traction. Your furiously spinning tires are not pulling you to safety. They are aggressively digging your vehicle into a much deeper, icy grave. Furthermore, the friction completely melts and polishes the snow underneath into a glass-like sheen, publicly announcing your total automotive helplessness to the entire zip code. 20. At every single backyard barbecue, there is always one hyper-masculine show-off who cannot find a bottle opener and decides to forcefully pry a metal beer cap off using nothing but his bare teeth. This is the ultimate, incredibly stupid power move. You are literally trading a brief 3-second illusion of looking tough for a permanent lifetime of agonizingly expensive dental reconstruction. Your precious molars evolved over millions of years to chew soft foods, not to engage in mortal combat with heavily crimped industrial steel. The glass bottle always wins. 21. If a neighborhood dog starts aggressively barking at you from behind a chain-link fence, a surprisingly common piece of advice suggests that you should loudly bark right back to establish immediate dominance. This is a spectacular way to instantly ruin your reputation. It absolutely does not make you look like the undisputed alpha of the pack. Instead, it instantly confirms to the dog, and to every single neighbor watching from their living room windows, that you have completely lost your grip on reality. 22. Everyone knows you should never put metal inside a microwave, yet some folks firmly believe that just a tiny bit of foil is perfectly acceptable. Seriously, who authorized this dangerous loophole? The high-voltage radiation box sitting on your kitchen counter does not care about scale or portions. A massive metal mixing bowl or a tiny forgotten wire twist tie on a bread bag is exactly the same thing to those microwaves. That speck of metal is nothing less than a formal invitation for a terrifying, kitchen-destroying electrical light show. 23. Since you were a kid, you were probably warned that if you gently pick up a fallen baby bird, its mother will instantly reject it because she will smell your foul human stench on its feathers. Let's clear this up right now. The vast majority of birds have an incredibly terrible sense of smell. They can barely sniff out their own squirming dinner. The distressed mother bird simply does not care about your scent. She is just angrily wondering why a giant, clumsy, hairless ape is aggressively harassing her child. 24. Whenever you are tossing and turning with severe insomnia, someone will inevitably suggest that you tightly close your eyes and start mentally counting fluffy sheep jumping over a wooden fence. How is this supposed to relax a racing mind? Instead of naturally winding down, you are essentially forcing your exhausted brain to take on a highly repetitive, profoundly boring second job right when it is desperately trying to clock out. You have accidentally transformed yourself into an unpaid, frustrated census taker for a herd of entirely imaginary livestock. 25. Corporate culture has spent decades loudly convincing everyone that to be a truly elite, highly productive employee, you must absolutely master the fine art of multitasking. This is a complete and total corporate lie. Juggling multiple projects simultaneously does not turn you into a hyper-efficient productivity god. It simply guarantees that you will attempt to do 5 entirely different things with an equal, spectacular level of sheer incompetence. You are not actually saving valuable time. You are just rapidly producing a much higher volume of incredibly low-quality garbage. 26. Everyone swears that laying a simple wooden spoon across the top of a boiling pasta pot will magically prevent the water from bubbling over the sides. This is kitchen witchcraft that only works in your imagination. Wood does not possess a mystical force field that commands boiling starch to retreat. All you're actually doing is slowly warping your favorite utensil with intense steam while the starchy water angrily foams up, completely ignores the spoon, and permanently fuses to your stovetop anyway. 27. The most universally accepted remedy for a stubborn case of the hiccups is to have a friend suddenly jump out from behind a closet door and scare the living daylights out of you. The major flaw here is that this bizarre medical intervention only truly works if the resulting shock induces genuine, pants-wetting terror. So basically, you are willingly trading a very mild, rhythmic chest annoyance for a potential major cardiac event, and a deep, newly formed distrust of every single person you know. 28. If someone at a late-night party has consumed way too much alcohol, the immediate group consensus is usually to force a massive mug of black coffee down their throat to quickly sober them up. Science strongly disagrees with this tactic. Caffeine absolutely does not magically evaporate the alcohol from your bloodstream. It merely takes a sleepy, highly manageable, couch-bound drunk person and forcefully transforms them into a wide-awake, hyperactive menace. You have successfully created a highly energized guided missile of incredibly bad life choices. 29. Thanks to decades of cheap Hollywood westerns, millions of people still genuinely believe that if a venomous rattlesnake bites your leg, your loyal buddy needs to immediately slice the wound open and suck the poison out with their bare mouth. This is a phenomenally terrible idea unless your specific goal is to wildly complicate a medical emergency. You are forcefully introducing a toxic cocktail of filthy human mouth bacteria directly into an open puncture wound, all while your helpful friend accidentally swallows a hot mouthful of deadly snake venom. 30. When the shower drain stops flowing, the trendy, eco-friendly internet solution is to violently pour a bubbling mixture of baking soda and cheap white vinegar down the pipes. Congratulations! You just successfully recreated a third-grade science fair volcano inside your master bathroom plumbing. This fun, highly reactive fizzy show looks incredibly impressive, but it does absolutely zero damage to the horrifying, impenetrable monster of tangled hair and hardened soap scum living deep inside your pipes. You have merely entertained the massive clog right before it floods your floor. 31. A very persistent vanity myth claims that if you angrily pluck a single, offending gray hair from your scalp, 3 more will immediately sprout up in its place to punish you. This ridiculous superstition turns basic human aging into a terrifying, vengeful, mythological hydra. The biological truth is much less dramatic. You only have one single root inside that specific follicle. Plucking the hair out with heavy tweezers will not cause it to magically multiply. It will simply just grow back, still aggressively gray, and probably mock you. 32. For generations, high school driving instructors rigidly demanded that terrified teenagers keep their hands firmly locked in the 10 and 2 positions on the steering wheel at all times. This sacred automotive mantra was fantastic advice right up until modern airbags were invented to violently detonate outward at 200 miles per hour. Today, maintaining that high-up grip does not actually make you a safer driver on the highway. It firmly guarantees that in a minor fender bender, the explosive force will instantly punch both of your own thumbs directly into your eye sockets. 33. We are constantly bombarded with the overly optimistic career advice to follow your passion, and you will never truly work a day in your life. This is perhaps the most toxic, feel-good lie ever sold to the American public. Taking this advice usually just acts as a highly efficient mechanism for turning your beloved, relaxing weekend hobby into a miserable, soul-crushing 50-hour workweek. It beautifully and tragically transforms your only pure source of happiness into your primary source of crippling financial anxiety and deep-seated resentment. 34. If you accidentally drop your wildly expensive smartphone into the toilet, the immediate, panicked reaction is to rush to the kitchen pantry and violently bury the dripping device inside a giant glass bowl of uncooked rice. People swear by this method, but it is basically just the modern equivalent of performing a desperate rain dance. You are simply entombing your $1,000 device inside a starchy, dusty sarcophagus, where the wet electronics and fine rice powder can slowly combine to form a lovely, highly corrosive permanent paste. 35. A very popular kitchen cleaning hack insists that the absolute best way to ruthlessly sanitize a filthy, foul-smelling dish, sponge, is to just blast it on high power inside your microwave for 2 solid minutes. Sure, the intense, boiling heat probably kills the dangerous bacteria, but it comes with a terrible cost. This trick works great right up until your unsuspecting roommate goes to reheat their leftover pepperoni pizza, only to discover it now tastes faintly of hot dish soap and the vaporized ghost of last month's chili. 36. The most intense culinary threat ever whispered is that you must never, under any circumstances, allow a single drop of liquid soap to touch a heavy cast iron skillet. If you boldly violate this sacred rule, you will not just strip away the pan's precious, hard-earned layers of slippery seasoning. Much worse, you will somehow organically summon a terrifying, obsessive online army of unhinged cast iron purists. They will instantly forcefully descend upon your comment section to explain, in excruciatingly condescending detail, exactly how you have profoundly failed as a human being. 37. Every teenager in the late 90s was aggressively told that for beautiful, natural blonde highlights, you just squirt concentrated lemon juice directly into your hair and bake yourself in the brutal summer sun. Let us be painfully honest here. This harsh chemical reaction never once resulted in a flawless, sun-kissed look. Instead, your abused hair emerged from this brutal citrusy torture session sporting the highly unnatural color of a radioactive, rusty carrot, along with the incredibly dry, brittle texture of an abandoned bird nest. 38. When an overworked laptop starts humming like a commercial jet engine and violently overheating, some internet forums suggest quickly placing it on top of a frozen bag of green peas. This wildly brilliant idea effortlessly combines the massive financial thrill of potential electronic water damage with the absolute certainty of ruining your vegetable side dish. You are actively forcing terrible condensation to form directly over your incredibly sensitive motherboard, while simultaneously defrosting your icy peas into a sad, mushy puddle of total technological and culinary failure. 39. The undisputed king of horrible medical advice, heavily popularized by television sitcoms, is that if you get stung by a jellyfish, your best friend must immediately pee on your leg to neutralize the venom. Medical professionals universally despise this ridiculous myth. Urinating on the fresh wound achieves absolutely nothing except turning your moment of agonizing marine trauma into a bizarre, highly inappropriate piece of performance art for the entire crowded beach. Congratulations, you are still in excruciating pain, but now you are also sticky and completely gross. 40. Outdated career counselors absolutely love to confidently tell young job seekers that the only way to get hired is to be relentlessly aggressive. They passionately insist you must boldly show up to the corporate office unannounced and forcefully call the hiring manager every single day. Listen closely. Doing this does not prove that you are a highly motivated go-getter. It simply proves that you have absolutely zero understanding of basic professional boundaries. You are not aggressively securing a lucrative career. You are aggressively working your way toward a corporate restraining order. 41. If you are driving through the blistering desert and your car engine temperature gauge suddenly spikes into the red zone, old-school mechanics will passionately yell at you to instantly crank the interior cabin heater on full blast. Technically, yes, this desperate move does actively pull dangerous heat away from the struggling engine block by violently redirecting it straight into your face. You might miraculously manage to save your aging transmission from totally melting down, but only after your severely dehydrated body has to be physically peeled off the sweaty vinyl seats. 42. Ah yes, the famous spaghetti against the wall test. This bizarre maneuver remains a deeply sacred culinary ritual for completely chaotic home chefs who aggressively refuse to simply use a cheap kitchen timer. The insane logic dictates that if you violently hurl a boiling noodle at your kitchen wall and it miraculously sticks, dinner is finally ready. In reality, that single starchy noodle will likely dry out and remain firmly cemented to your drywall for 6 whole months, silently collecting dust as a lasting monument to your laziness. 43. For decades, frugal dads have confidently insisted that storing dead alkaline batteries inside the kitchen freezer will magically recharge them for one last use. This is not how basic chemistry works. You are not resurrecting dead energy. You are just giving a piece of toxic metal frostbite. condensation will eventually build up inside the casing, causing the battery to silently leak highly corrosive acid right next to your frozen vegetables. You save exactly 0 cents while heavily risking a poisoned bag of frozen corn. 44. To strictly guarantee perfectly smooth, easy-to-peel hard-boiled eggs with absolutely 0 cracks, countless cooking blogs loudly demand that you dump a heavy splash of white vinegar directly into the boiling pot. Does this actually fortify the fragile eggshells? Sometimes it miraculously works, but most of the time it completely fails. However, the one thing this weird trick guarantees with absolute certainty is that your entire kitchen will rapidly smell exactly like an old, unwashed gym sock. Enjoy your intensely sulfur and vinegar-scented breakfast experience. 45. When you are suffering from a brutal winter head cold and heavily congested, well-meaning friends will fiercely insist you force down the most aggressively spicy buffalo wings you can find to naturally clear out your sinuses. Spoiler alert, this fiery tactic does not actually cure your miserable cold. It simply rapidly initiates a horrific biological meltdown where literally every single orifice on your feverish face begins to leak uncontrollably in public. You have merely transformed yourself from a sniffly person into a violently sweating, weeping, walking human water feature. 46. Some extremely frugal drivers firmly believe that the ultimate secret to maximizing fuel economy is to aggressively shift their automatic transmission into neutral while coasting down a steep hill. This highly illegal, breathtakingly foolish trick instantly transforms your heavy 2-ton family vehicle into a completely unpowered, free-rolling metal projectile. By willingly disconnecting the roaring engine, you severely compromise your vital braking power and your emergency steering control. You might successfully save a grand total of 12 miserable cents on premium gasoline, right before you lose control and cause a spectacular multi-car pileup. 47. You just loaded the dishwasher after a massive dinner party, only to quickly realize you are completely out of detergent pods. A chaotic inner voice confidently whispers that just a tiny drop of regular liquid dish soap will surely do the exact same job. Do not listen to the voices. That single squirt will not clean your ceramic plates. Instead, it will immediately trigger a terrifying biblical-level foam event, seeping from every crevice until your expensive hardwood kitchen floor looks exactly like the messy aftermath of a failed 90s television game show. 48. The undisputed golden rule of the summer produce aisle dictates that to find a perfectly sweet, ripe watermelon, you must confidently smack it with the flat palm of your hand. Watch literally any suburban dad in the grocery store. He will knock on that massive green rind with the profound, sweaty focus of a master safecracker. He has absolutely zero clue what a hollow, ripe thump actually sounds like. It is pure, unadulterated agricultural theater, designed strictly to make men feel incredibly useful while buying fruit. 49. When your heavy eyelids start drooping during a brutally long midnight road trip, the classic driver defense mechanism is to violently blast the freezing air conditioning directly into your own tired face. That sudden icy gust is a fantastic psychological trick that makes you actively feel wide awake and totally in control for exactly 90 seconds. Unfortunately, your exhausted brain will inevitably win this argument anyway, at which point you will gently nod off and blindly plow your heavy vehicle straight through the drive-thru menu board of a closed fast food restaurant. 50. Every men's grooming commercial strongly implies that to achieve the absolute closest, smooth shave possible, you must drag a multi-blade razor directly against the natural grain of your facial hair. This terrible technique does not actually leave you with baby-soft skin ready for a magazine cover. Instead, it rapidly transforms your entire lower jaw into a highly irritated bright red topographical map of Mars. Dragging sharp steel backward across your face is simply a reckless, unprovoked declaration of total war on your own helpless epidermis. I guarantee half of you are still going to put dead batteries in the freezer tonight. What is the absolute dumbest piece of advice someone looked you dead in the eye and gave you? Name and shame them in the comments right now. While you're typing out your family's embarrassing secrets, hit subscribe and drop a like on the video.